This d6 pawn is weak. This bishop on b7 staring to his own pawn. So 2 bishops for black, but no advantage.
It's because of the bishop pair, just making sure that you've got enough compensation. The rook now defends the d6 pawn, and it's kind of difficult for white to break into this position. You do have more active bishop on g5, pinning that knight on e7, but are you seeing a direct way to seize the initiative for white here?
I don't. I do like that the pawn structure feels intact for white. Perhaps queen f4, just to get this queen active, and he plays that. There could also be queen h4, and just pressurizing that pin knight on e7. So big decisions for Maxime. He's down to a minute 20. If Vidit can win this game, Maxime go to 0 out of 3. That would be shocking.
After his tremendous performance in the rapid and knowing just what a speed specialist it is, it has been a disastrous start for Maxime. He needs to somehow stop the bleeding in this one. It's not even about getting winning chances, but just make sure you don't lose as black. He had to defend the d6 pawn, does it by pushing the pawn. Not only defends the pawn, but opens up his own bishop on b7.
It's a much more active piece. It does give the d5 square away, so at some moment you have to watch out, but for now, the black knight could take back. So bishop f6, he's going for an attack, but the engine didn't like it.
Because all your pieces are on the queen side. What is going to assist that queen on the attack? And I liked your idea of lining a battery instead with that pin on the h4 d8 diagonal, and Maxime seizing the moment to get rid of all the weaknesses on the board.
Vidit, I believe, missed this move because the queens are now staring at each other. If you trade them, black's problems are completely gone. I think Maxime has done well to equal.
I'm feeling if things will lose hope. And here I am still going. I am even stronger now. Evil is looking around you. I'm feeling if things will lose hope. And here I am still going. I am even stronger now. Evil is looking around you. And maybe I'm mistaken. You know I'm feeling right. Like something on my face, something in my way. It still hurts. And I don't know what it takes. Don't know what it takes to move on.
This position.
You know what Vidit missed is the back rank weakness. If white trades, let's just quickly show that. Queen b6, you take on d5, knight d5, and here it looks like black is actually losing a piece on d5, but guess what? You take the bishop, you lose your king.
Great point that rook takes bishop, loses to a back rank checkmate. Probably what Vidit missed, and he decides to backtrack with his queen, and now we see a fighting game. So Vidit didn't want to just make a draw by trading queens. That likely would have been the result. Instead, he fights for more, and his knight's under attack, Tanya, but I don't think he's going to move it. He can play e takes d5, because when black takes the knight on b3, white takes this knight on e7. It is getting very tactical.
It is absolute chaos on the board. You take on d5, I can't take that knight because of the knight on e7 hanging, and then you have to calculate what happens if black actually recaptures on d5, opens up the bishop. It's complete chaos and a big decision for Vidit to make, who's now under 1 minute.
Yes, so it's not an easy choice. The position is getting spicy.
And I want to point out, if you move that knight, b2 was hanging, so he had to go for this variation.
And he does. Now there's a pawn on a2, but the computer actually likes white even more. So I'm wondering if white can trade and start thinking about pushing this pawn. That looks a bit risky because, as you pointed out, b2's hanging. Oh,
nice move there by Vidit. Look at the double attack, the geometry in the position.
And that earned that exclamation point. I wasn't looking there. I was looking at this pawn pushing, but b2 is loose. You can't take b2 now because the rook is hanging with check. What a find by Vidit to grab this pawn on a2.
I love that move, and it's so easy to miss when all your focus is on one side of the board, but the queen just slid, and this could cost Maxime that third point. Winning that pawn, defending d5, and now Vidit has a healthy extra pawn. That's a big passer in the center of the board.
And every single white piece is defended now. So great play from Vidit. Are any other games heating up?
All of them, and players are on seconds right now. I'm going to leave the decision to you. Where do you want to go to? Perhaps we should just quickly take a look at Pragnananda against Vincent, because it looks like it could be a checkmating attack there.
Okay, let's go to that game.